The People's Republic of China, run by the CCP, or Chinese Communist Party, has been in the news a lot lately. Whether it is their actions towards protesters in Hong Kong, their disputed sovereignty over Taiwan, their support of the North Korean dictatorship, their active attempts at censorship, treatment of Uyghur peoples, their initial response to the coronavirus, etc., etc., the People's Republic of China has found itself in a curious position in our modern world of geopolitics. But how did things end up this way? Why does the CCP find itself steeped in controversy so often? Are they even really communists? And what makes them different from the iconic dynasties of China's past? To gain insight into the modern condition of China, we should start with its predecessor, the Republic of China. The Republic of China was the ruling government of mainland China from 1912 to 1949. It was established on the 1st of January, 1912, after the Xinhai Revolution. This revolution ended the Qing dynasty. This is commonly referred to as the end of the last imperial dynasty of China and a break from the dynastic cycle. The first president of the Republic, Sun Yat-sen, quickly handed his position to Yuan Shikai. Yuan Shikai was the leader of the Beiyang army, the powerful Western-style army that had been built up by the Qing dynasty in light of their declining influence. This army was turned against them during the Xinhai Revolution. When Yuan Shikai's political party, the Kuomintang, or KMT, won the parliamentary election, its leader, Song Zhaoren, was to be appointed as the next president, replacing Yuan Shikai. Rather than abdicating his power, however, Yuan Shikai assassinated Song Zhaoren and mobilized the Beiyang army to establish himself as the sole ruler of the new republic. He even went so far as to proclaim himself China's new emperor. However, after the people of China expressed their disapproval, he abdicated his position before dying in 1916. The Qing dynasty even briefly restored itself during this time of unrest, before the Beiyang army split into multiple factions which clashed with one another over control of regional provinces. What would follow is a period of time known as the Warlord Era. The remaining supporters of the KMT resettled their power in Canton. This is where the Communist Party of China makes its entrance into the historical narrative. The CPC, small but growing during this time, allied itself with the KMT so that the regional warlords could be driven out of China. These warlords controlled large swaths of land, with some estimates being placed at as much as 2/3 of northern China's developed agriculture. The farmers who lived under them were frequently treated like peasants and were abused by their landlords. The KMT, led by their new leader General Chiang Kai-shek, marched north with the CPC, led by Mao Zedong. In 1926, a new military campaign, known as the Northern Expedition, was launched. As they liberated villages from the warlords, both the KMT and CPC recruited new members into their ranks. Finally, in 1928, the expedition was over and the Beiyang warlords had been defeated. The KMT was, by this point, a military dictatorship led by Chiang Kai-shek. It was pro-capitalism, pro-industry, and supported a nationalist mentality. Though the KMT had been supported by both the Soviet Union and the CPC, Chiang Kai-shek was convinced that those powers wanted to displace the KMT and install their own communist government. In response, he dismissed the Soviet advisors and massacred thousands of Chinese communists, igniting a civil war between the KMT and the CPC. The CPC was pushed to the mostly agricultural north, while the KMT established itself in centers of industry and commerce, like Nanking, its capital. However, while the KMT and CPC fought each other, another conflict loomed on the horizon. In 1937, the Japanese Empire invaded China and ravaged the country. The KMT and CPC both fought against the Japanese, while also occasionally skirmishing with one another. Though both parties were considered for aid against the Japanese, the USA and other allies decided to back the KMT, as they had a more compatible ideology, and Chiang Kai-shek was more popular among American people. Despite this, due to corruption within the KMT leadership, much of the aid that soldiers desperately needed to fight the Japanese was embezzled, and many more KMT soldiers were killed than was necessary. The CPC, however, adapted its tactics to repel the Japanese attack in northern China and Manchuria. While there, they recruited many members from its mostly agricultural population, as Maoism, the brand of communism that was adapted by Mao Zedong, was focused on the liberation of agricultural workers and offered equal status to all people, including women. This popular ideology swelled the ranks of the CPC, while the KMT was drained of its support by poor management of its war against the Japanese in the South. After Japan surrendered in 1946, the KMT and the CPC fought each other once again.
In the cities, people's lives had not improved after the war. Massive economic problems were undercutting Jiang's support. The government's financial policies were chaotic. The homeless and starving filled city streets. Black market trading and corruption were widespread. To make matters worse, in 1947, floods in the south destroyed the rice crop. And in the north, there was a devastating famine. In response, the United Nations Relief Agency sent millions of dollars in aid. America continued to send vast quantities of war surplus and millions more dollars to help Jiang in his struggle against the communists. Many were certain that Jiang's family was embezzling huge amounts of this aid. He and his wife continued to ask for more. In 1947, President Truman sent Albert Wedemeyer back to China to assess the situation. Although it was clear that Jiang's government was corrupt and losing support, for America there was no alternative. Wedemeyer urged Jiang to effect immediate, drastic political and economic reforms. At the same time, he recommended more U.S. aid. But American aid could not win the war for Jiang. He made the crucial mistake of overextending his forces in the north. The communists responded with a change in tactics. They mounted a major offensive against the nationalist armies in the cities. The change of tactics worked. By November 1948, after only a month and a half, the communists won control of North China. With North China under communist control, the battle for central China began.
The nationalists failed because we completely lost the people's support. I had heard that during the Northern Expedition, the people gave us flowers and food. During the war against Japan, the people provided intelligence and helped us resist the Japanese. Once the Civil War started, we couldn't find anyone to give us even road directions. There is a saying in China, the water that carries the boat can also overturn it.
On January 21st, 1949, 11 days after the battle for central China, Chiang Kai-shek resigned. In Shanghai, people were leaving in droves. Chiang Kai-shek and his government retreated to the island of Taiwan. It was carefully planned. They took a huge part of China's art treasures and all of the central bank reserves. U.S. aid followed. The war continued without Chiang Kai-shek. The communists prepared to cross the Yangtze River, heading for Nanking and Shanghai. They quickly overcame nationalist defenses. With the communists just outside Shanghai, the remaining nationalist police stepped up their anti-communist activities.
On October 1st, 1949, we listened to the radio. We heard the ceremony of the founding of the People's Republic of China. Chairman Mao proclaimed that the Chinese people had stood up. All of us were overjoyed. We jumped around. We were really proud and happy.